Today's podcast is brought to you by Audible. Get a free audiobook download and 30-day free trial at audibletrial.com/spookshow. Then go over to morbidlybeautiful.com as we are now part of the Morbidly Beautiful Podcasting Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, we interrupt our program of dance music to bring you a special bulletin.
Officials have declared a state of emergency. Everybody they kill gets up and kills. Residents are advised to find a safe place and stay there.
Execute Code Red.
The Doomsday Machine.
We celebrate our Independence Day.
That's right, the sirens are sounding once again. Welcome back to the disaster. This is the All-American Spook Show. I'm Josh, and I'm joined here with Donny.
Yo.
And the Professor Smoke.
What's up?
So far, we have survived an attack on Tokyo and the surrounding areas from Godzilla. We barely, somehow, we escaped Don't Look Up. I mean, and that was an epic disaster, right? I mean, it took out pretty much half the planet, at least, if not more. So now it's appropriate that today we're here to talk about Donny's choice, which is the Book of Eli from 2010, because it's more of a post-apocalyptic, like the shit has already happened, and now this is the wastelands afterwards, right? So it's almost perfect falling in line. Monster attack, epic comet hits the earth, and now we're dealing with the aftermath here in the Book of Eli.
It's just we just stumble into these things.
Coincidental. Yeah, trust me, we're not this clever, we're not this smart.
Yeah.
Any of these things, they just happen. They just happen. But yeah, so that's what we're going to be talking about today. It's our first ever Denzel Washington movie, so there's that. So
yep.
We've already figured out there's a few first here in the Spookshow Summer Disaster. Like we did our first Lucio Fulci movie when we talked about Zombie over on YouTube, and what was that, Grindhouse Gutter, right?
Yep.
Yep. Donnie, you had to miss that one. You missed a good one.
I missed it. I missed it.
You missed a good one.
Yeah.
That was a really good one. We recommend you go hop over to the YouTube channel and go check that one out. So
yeah, that's one we'll definitely get to on the show proper at some point down the road.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'll be looking forward to that one.
Yeah,
I may even nominate it myself.
That deserves a proper full podcast
deep dive,
episode, and not just the 10 or 15 minutes we give the stuff over on YouTube. But if you want to check that out, we spent about 15 minutes or so talking about that one, so it's always a good time. And we encourage you, of course, to check out all the stuff over on YouTube. You can get there by going to aaspookshow.com. That's probably the easiest and quickest way to send you on all the different paths that you need to take here in the Spook Show universe, because from there you can go to the YouTube channel. You can go to our past archive where, this is episode 165. There's 164 episodes in the archives for you to go check out. It's not like you have to listen to these things in a row, right? It's not like they're episodes in the sense of you have to listen to one to get to the other, but if you want to go listen to them and download them, we highly recommend it. But you can also get to our Patreon from there. Also patreon.com/AASpookshow, however you want to do it. And from there, that's where you can find our Crapsterpiece Theater library. And this month, we got another doozy lined up. It comes out on June 30th. So literally the last day of the month. We're holding that dump until the last possible minute. And thankfully, I won last month's poll, so I don't even have to be there. It's going to be you guys watching Disaster Movie from whatever year that thing came out.
Lucky us, I guess.
Yeah, yeah.
At least that one is a comedy, right? So, they're purposefully, doing
something. Yeah. You kind of know what you're getting once you dive in.
It was part of that whole genre of spoof movies that, it's always been around.
Came and went, really.
Well, it's always kind of been around, with Airplane and stuff like that. But man, in the 2000s, I think. There was a shit ton of them, and then it just.
Yeah, it was you'd have about at least 5 a year.
It felt like it. There was a lot, but this is part of it. So yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Hopefully, and a good many of them were horror related, because you had
Scary Movie.
I want to say there was 5 of those things.
Another one too.
Yeah.
Haunted something. I forget.
I guess because
Haunted House.
I guess because horror kind of lends itself to be made fun of a little bit more than certain other film genres. But for whatever reason, yeah, that's kind of the way it leans. But yeah, so we're gonna have that coming up at the end of the month. Lots of stuff. So go to aaspookshow.com to check all that out. But let's get back to the disaster at hand. And here's the trailer for the Book of Eli.
30 winters ago, the war tore a hole in the sky. Only a few survived. Our only hope is in my hands.
Take off the pack, nice and slow.
Put that hand on me again, you won't get it back. Cursed be the ground for our sake. For out of the ground we were taken, and to the dust we shall return. I told you weren't going to get that back.
This little town, just beginning.
All we need is that book.
He's different than the others. You're not going to be able to make him do what you want him to do.
This is your last chance. Give it up or I swear I'll bury you.
I don't want any trouble.
That's too bad.
Nobody touches it but me, you understand me?
I love this guy. Shoot him, please.
Teach me.
Put a crew together. We're going after him.
Go back inside. Close your eyes.
It's not a book. It's a weapon.
All right, so there you go. There's that. Now, I've seen this before, although it was all the way back. I think I'm pretty sure I saw this in theaters, and I haven't seen it since. What about you guys?
For me, it's the same predicament. I saw it in the theaters, but haven't seen it since back then.
Yeah, Kenny's a big Denzel fan. Well, so am I, but we've probably watched this. I know I've seen it a couple of times, and we've seen it probably a couple of times. So, yeah, it's still rewatchable for me.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, I mean, we'll get into our star ratings and all that stuff, but I was there were certain things that I forgot about with this movie. Mm. Probably the biggest being the look of it. Mm. Like the way it was shot, yeah. and just the tone, the color tones and everything that they use in this. That I'd kind of forgot about that with this, but that was a pleasant kind of surprise going back and watching. Oh yeah, this looks really cool. Even 13 years later, I think it holds up pretty well.
Also, we probably should give out the what do you call it, the spoiler thing now, because there's some stuff we have to talk about it here that will early on even that'll spoil stuff. So.
Yeah, that's a good call. We are a spoiler filled podcast, so if for whatever reason you haven't seen the Book of Eli, now is the time to hit pause. Go check it out. It's available in various places as of this recording, and come back and listen to the rest of this because I think no matter what our final star rating will be on this at the end, I think this is one that you should probably see. If you're a fan of Denzel Washington, for sure. You've probably already seen it. Yeah, post-apocalyptic, any of that type of stuff is your bag. If you haven't seen it, you should definitely go check it out at least once. So yeah, with that out of the way, I guess we'll go ahead and get into some of the background information. This I only found one alternative title. Most of them were just like some translation of the Book of Eli. The only other true alternate title that I could find was the English title in Japan is called The Walker. So that's not bad, right?
I mean that's what they actually called him. That's what Carnegie and his men called him.
Yeah,
The Walker.
So, but the film premiered in Hollywood, California, January 11th, 2010. But it was actually released wide upon the world January 15th of 2010. Mm-hmm. It, of course, was produced by Alcon Entertainment and Silver Pictures and distributed by Warner Brothers Pictures. If you've ever watched this movie, you will understand the rating is rated R. There's no doubt about that. I mean, it's not, I wouldn't say, quote unquote, the hard R, right? But, you know, there's some scenes in here where there's some scenes in here where you're like, wow, holy shit, you know, at least, two pretty violent scenes that I recall off the top of my head. Total runtime, 1 hour and 58 minutes. So it is a little long. On IMDb, it's listed as an action/adventure/drama. It's directed by the Hughes brothers, Albert Hughes and Alan Hughes. And it's written by Gary Whitta. And of course it stars, like we've mentioned, Denzel Washington, really good cast though. Mila Kunis, Ray Stevenson, who ironically just passed away like
a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, within the last month. Gary Oldman, Jennifer Beals. It's a Tom Waits is in it. I mean, it's an interesting cast, but it's a very good cast, I think. You know, and it, like I said, I think it leads to it holding up all these years later.
Gary Oldman was actually cast at the suggestion of Denzel. Gary Oldman just makes a great villain.
You can't go wrong putting that dude in your movie. I mean, like
definitely not.
And he has been in some stinkers, but he's never bad in them. You know. No.
So when Eli, played by Denzel, he first sits in the room with Carnegie, who plays Gary Oldman plays Carnegie. Basically, imprisons him there. There's a poster of the movie. I didn't catch this at first. I had to go back and look at it. There's a poster for the movie A Boy and His Dog from 1975. That's something that we don't have on the list, but that movie, A Boy and His Dog, is recognized as one of the earliest post-apocalyptic movies and inspired a lot of the dystopian movies and video games.
And Don Johnson was in that too.
The budget for this movie was $80 million, but it did go on to have a box office of $157.1 million. So it was successful. It was filmed in New Mexico, or at least parts of it were, like out Carrizozo, New Mexico, outside of Albuquerque, and other, and of course in Alcatraz, which, spoiler, once you get towards the end, that was actually at Alcatraz prison there in San Francisco Bay, and also parts in New Mexico State Penitentiary in Santa Fe, New Mexico. And it was filmed from January 26th of 2009 to May 1st. That weekend that it opened up, it made $32.7 million. Here, all right, so this is the top 10, the weekend that it came out. So this is the weekend of January 15th through the 17th, 2010. Here's the top 10. Number 10, Up in the Air. Number 9, The Blind Side. It was in its 9th week. Number 8, Leap Year. Number 7, It's Complicated. Number 6, in its opening weekend, The Spy Next Door. Number 5, Sherlock Holmes. That was in its 4th week. Number 4, Donnie, this is for you. Alvin and the Chipmunks, The Squeakquel.
Yep. Appreciate it.
Wow, what a shitty year. The only movie of those that I ever even saw was Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah. I remember liking that one, but none of the other ones, yeah, you're right, are jumping out. Number 3, The Lovely Bones. Number 2, in its opening week, The Book of Eli, and like I said, it made $32.7 million that opening weekend. And number 1, in its 5th week, Avatar, the first one. In its 5th week, it had already raked in almost $500 million at this point. So, yeah, it was still the crowned king.
Avatar. And Avatar, I just saw the first Avatar right before we wanted to see the second Avatar.
Oh, wow. Although, that's a good opening weekend, 32.7. It just walked into a juggernaut. Literally, the biggest movie of all time it walked into. So, for a mid-January release, that's pretty damn good. I'll say that.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. The management of this drive-in theater is happy to announce you can enjoy your favorite form of movie entertainment regardless of rain. No longer will it be necessary to let rain spoil your fun. Now you can keep your windshield clear and dry with a drizzle guard. Simply attach it to your windshield, and in a jiffy, you're enjoying the movie without constantly running your windshield wipers.
For you listeners of the All-American Spook Show podcast, Audible is offering a free audiobook download with a free 30-day trial to give you the opportunity to check out their service. So I hopped on over to audible.com, and I just typed in the Book of Eli to see what will pop up. And nothing directly connected to this, but there are some things that, with Eli, I guess, in the title. There's over 1,000 results, by the way, Donnie. just for basically, I guess, Eli and Book. I guess is what pinged it. But we've got Eli by Bill Myers. This one is almost 12 hours long. I don't know what the hell that looks like. It looks cheap. I'll be honest with you. It looks like a cheap-ass book, but who knows, right? It might be good. Eli, A Ranger's Tale, Book 1. Good Lord, that means it's a whole series. By Mark Allen Idelhelt. Yeah, it's a Ranger's Tale series. And that one's about 9.5 hours long. And let's see. The Lost Girls, Blake Wilder FBI Mystery Thriller, Book 6 by Ellie Gray. That one's a little over 7 hours long. So I guess if any of that sounds familiar or sounds like it might float your boat and you just want a free copy of it, go to audibletrial.com/spookshow. Again, that's audibletrial.com/spookshow for your free audio book. So now I'm going to kind of debut a little bit of a tweak to this week, okay? This is normally where we go over to IMDb and we just click on plot summary and see what pops up. Well, we're going to continue to do that, but I'm going to add an extra wrinkle to it, Donnie. I think this could be pretty good because it could give us some interesting results. I'm just going to read the one-sentence synopsis on IMDb. A post-apocalyptic tale in which a lone man fights his way across America in order to protect a sacred book that holds the secrets to saving humankind. Simple enough, right? Well, what we're going to start doing here is I'm going to go... I've got ChatGPT on my phone. AI. All right. We're going to the future here, Smoke. We're going straight to the future. It. And I'm just going to type in, explain the Book of Eli, and see what it tells us. Now, I'm not going to read all this because, frankly, I typed it in and it's pretty long. I'm going to kind of skip the middle part here. But I think it's a pretty good explanation of it, though, considering that I just typed it in on a fucking AI app. This is a pretty good explanation of the movie. The Book of Eli is a post-apocalyptic film released in 2010. The story revolves around a man named Eli, played by Denzel Washington, who was on a mission to deliver a mysterious book to a safe location on the west coast of the United States. The setting is a desolate, lawless world, approximately 30 years after a catastrophic event has devastated the earth. Spoiler alert. The book Eli carries is actually a Bible, and he believes it holds the key to humanity's salvation and the restoration of hope. As he travels through the dangerous wasteland, he encounters various obstacles and confronts both allies and enemies. Along the way, Eli meets a young woman named Solara, portrayed by Mila Kunis, who becomes his companion. Like I said, I'll skip the next couple paragraphs and I'll get to the end. The Book of Eli explores themes of faith, hope, perseverance, and the power of knowledge. It presents a grim vision of a post-apocalyptic world and the lengths one man will go to preserve something he believes can change humanity's fate. So yeah, maybe we'll come up with some interesting synopsis doing it that way. Because some of these ones worded on IMDb suck. But then again, some of that's kind of some of the fun of it. Good Lord, I spit that all up. That is some of the fun of it, right? Is like listening to how bad they butcher these fucking explanations of the movie. So maybe every once in a while we'll dip into that But I felt that was a pretty good explanation because really this movie, in the end, right, it's all about faith, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's basically,
different people involved. Yeah.
So, I think that's where you start right there is that this movie, it's not exactly what you think it is in a lot of ways, it's a post-apocalyptic world. And I think you kind of gather that just from watching the trailer. Right.
Yeah.
But I remember back when I saw it, 13 years ago or whatever it was, thinking that it kind of sold an end of the world action type of movie. And there are moments of that for sure. There's plenty of action in this movie, but it doesn't necessarily play out the way I felt it was going to play out. In a good way though. Not necessarily that I was disappointed with it. It just wasn't quite what I thought it would be with the whole, point of what he's trying to do, right? What Denzel's character is trying to do here, Eli. And it really, not devolves, but it evolves into more of a faith story the further along you get. It's not quite what I expected.
True. Yeah. I remember thinking that when I first saw it too. And also, when I first saw it versus this time seeing it, I liked it a little better this time around. Not that I didn't like it the first time around, but it didn't hit me as much.
Yeah.
The first time around, I didn't like it as much. When I saw it in theaters, I just thought it was like, oh, it's all right. And it's all okay, action or, apocalyptic thing. But then you see it again and, you think about various things in it. But I think one thing, like you're talking about on the faith angle and religion and everything is definitely different than your average Hollywood movie, especially in the 2000s, where, it's not like just shitting all over religion or whatever. It's not saying, religion bad, atheism good or something. It's a journey that each character goes through. And also I think it talks about how religion is based, like it kind of breaks it down into 3 different versions. So you have the war, the post-apocalyptic event itself is kind of explained as being possibly, they don't say for sure, but it said something along the lines of it being religion that caused it. In other words, like a holy war or something that struck off the conflict that caused whatever happened. And they don't even really say if it's a nuclear bomb or what. Something happened that I think the way Eli described it must have been some sort of nuclear weapon or some sort of weapon that went off that caused I don't know if it's a hole in the ozone layer, but the way he described it was the sun poured in through a hole or whatever, and then like burned the earth. I mean, that could be a metaphor, just a nuclear bomb right itself, or it could be.
Like they never come right out and say this is what happened that led to this. It was more like you said, well, basically a hole in the ozone layer, and the sun has mostly made the earth damn near uninhabitable.
Well, they do mention that
that was a flash, or something, right? They say that.
Yeah, the flash, but they also said that they burned all the Bibles after the war, whatever war that was.
And that was one of the questions I had as I was making my notes during it. With all the Bibles in the world, would he really have the only one left? Right?
Well, all those Gideon Bibles and all the seedy hotel rooms.
They had a shitload of hotels to go through to burn all those.
Good Lord.
Why not?
I'd find it hard to believe. Now, granted, that they go out of their way to explain how this might have happened. Because of this, like you said, holy war, whatever it was that happened, this war was fought at least in part over religion. Some force went through and basically burned every book they could. I guess to kind of dumb everybody down, right? Like, well, you don't need books anymore. I guess that's the other part of it too. Like, well, let's just take away all the books, everything.
Yeah, because books are like a precious commodity, I think, in here, right? As far as them scavenging things, like for I can't remember, is it Carnegie? Is that his name?
Gary Oldman's character is Carnegie. Yeah,
he's sends his people out, of course, to get various things. But one of the things he always wants to bring back is books when they can find them. So I guess, like you said, they just destroyed a lot of books, I guess.
Because basically, the only ones that the way they paint it is basically the only ones that can read are the people that were old enough to be around before all this shit happened, right?
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much everybody else is just surviving and illiterate. They're just living. They don't care about such things. So these things have gone to the wayside, and there's not very many books. And now this guy wants to latch on to this, like, oh, if I can get my hands on the Bible, I can contort this. Like some people unfortunately do, even as we speak, right? Like they take advantage of people's, not necessarily their faith, but I guess they do take advantage of their faith. And that is something that faith is basically something you don't see, right? Like you believe in something that isn't tangible. It's not here in your hands. So he's going to prey on that. Like, unfortunately, some people do in real life, and like, well, I'm going to sell you hope, and I'll be the only one that can deliver you, kind of thing. So this dude's basically wanting to set himself up as the Messiah in an illiterate world, right?
That brought me to the second line when I was talking about 3 things of religion in this movie. The first one being possibly starting the war. The second was that, like you said, Gary Oldman, Carnegie wanting to acquire the Bible to get power over.
Yeah, to manipulate
over weak-minded people is the way he phrases it.
Yeah.
Because I guess in this movie he only has power over this town. What it seems like, right? He
just seems like a slumlord, kind of like he's like the dude he's got enough sway in this town because of his left hand man there. Red Ridge.
Yeah,
because that guy's Red Ridge is kind of his muscle, so he's able to strong arm this town.
Yeah, if he gets this Bible, he can hold sway over, because the people will come from other towns to hear the word, so to speak. So he can gain power over them that way.
Yeah.
And then the third aspect of religion is, of course, what Eli represents, who is someone who's trying to protect the book per se, but trying to
protect the word,
having faith and using that faith in a way that's not manipulative or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Almost not quite, but almost like a prophet, kind of, right? A saint, a prophet. It's kind of what Eli is.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he kind of has that, kind of hedge of protection, so to speak, because Redridge tries to, shoot him a couple of times and just has no effect.
Now, what did you make of that? Did you think there was actually like the protection of God over him that was causing this, or did you think it was just a coincidence, poor shot kind of thing, or just a shitty post-apocalyptic gun, right? Like, I mean,
well, I mean, the way that I interpreted it is, he has basically what is believed to be the last known book. So, as long as he is in possession of that, whether it's, physical or, in his mind, as we, come to find out, he's protected in that right.
Yeah.
So I believe it maybe was divine intervention. That's how I interpreted it.
Yeah, that's what I think too, as far as, or at least I think that maybe the directors or writers, whatever, leave it up to the person, I guess, to think. But I would say that, it was divine intervention, but other people, like I said, might say, oh, it was a coincidence. Maybe, he just missed and it went through this or that or whatever. But I think they leave it up, I guess, to however you interpret religion, maybe. But yeah, I would see it as divine intervention for him, as he's a more righteous man, of course, than, than what's in it, Carnegie.
You really get
something else.
That devil angel thing too there with Eli and Carnegie, right? Like you got that.
Yeah, I don't know what the what the good book says about eating hairless cats, though.
Yeah, I thought that first scene. That was an awesome opening scene.
That was great, dude. That was great.
Style, but yeah, that's like
especially in hindsight. It's even cooler in hindsight knowing that, spoiler alert, like I said, as you get further along, you realize that Eli is blind.
Yeah.
Right? Well, see, that's the part I was going to say too. Well, I guess this is a good point to get to it, because of the event that, I mean, we've already talked about it being a spoiler-filled podcast and all that, but yes, so another spoiler here, of course, the Bible that he is carrying is, Gary Oldman finds out, is written in Braille.
Yeah.
And then you're led to believe, though, was he blind? I mean, that's what the twist in the movie, one of the twists near the end is that, okay, he finds this in his Braille, and then boom, so he's blind the whole time. But then, I don't know, though, was it, maybe he just can read Braille, because it just seemed like, it didn't seem like he was blind, like he was looking at things,
he was looking around. He was moving.
You also have to think too that there's, certain tiers to blindness. There's legally blind, like True. You shouldn't be behind the wheel,
Yeah,
but like you can make out shadows and things like that. That may be it. But also does he have this divine intervention that's also protecting him? Is it also guiding his sword and his gun and his aim?
I didn't dwell on it too long, but what you said,
I know.
What you said there, you might be right in the sense of like he might have been able to see early in the movie, and then maybe once you get towards the end there when he gets shot. When Carnegie shoots Eli, and then he's basically left for dead without his sunglasses and everything like that. Maybe that was the final nail in the coffin of his sight. Maybe, I don't know. I mean, you could see it playing out in a couple of different ways there. As far as like, was he able to see at the beginning versus the end? I think by the end he was definitely blind, because they did make it a point to like kind of zoom into his eyes, and he had like the cataract looking dead eyes.
But then the whole Braille thing though would come into play there. Like if he was able to see in the beginning, would he have even cared or known about reading Braille or not?
Maybe it's because this is the only one.
This is the only book, and maybe
he taught himself how to read Braille because he knows that this is literally the only copy on the planet, supposedly.
And
so
this is a little deviation from that, but what a great soundtrack! I've always loved a little soundtrack to this. From Al Green to just the other little thing.
Ring My Bell by Anita Ward.
Yeah.
When they get the cannibals, the cannibal.
I love that too, because they put it on. Let me put on this old record on a phonograph, and then you can ring my bell. It's like, what?
Yeah, I thought that was it. Yeah, they have the phonograph from like the 30s.
Yeah,
or 20s maybe.
Yeah.
But they have the 70s records from the 70s and 80s. Like have they always I didn't think about it. I didn't dwell on it too much. But I mean, now after have they always just listened to modern records they just never bothered to buy a modern turntable? They just listen to them on this old.
Also,
that would work without electricity, right?
If you look at their, like when, those old cannibals bring out, when she brings out the little tea set, it looks like it's been like crushed and broken and then glued back together.
Probably, yeah. Because
it's just all cracked up. I mean, it can just be old, but
I'd say it's probably both in this scenario. It's old and it's been beat all to hell. Clearly, they make it a point to point out all throughout this movie that, like, small luxuries like that we all have and everybody's got it in their house and you take for granted, in this scenario, in this world, don't exist.
Well, also...
Like shampoo and taking a KFC wet nap bath and stuff.
So Eli actually mentions that to Solara. He says, well, she asked how the old world was.
Yeah.
And he was like, well, we threw away things that people would kill other people for now.
Yeah. And in that shitty world, he's probably, I could see that, in this world that has played out.
Oh, KFC wet naps as currency.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that. Like, they show him taking a bath with it. So you can see, like, well, okay, this is a really shitty world. You gather that real quick from the killing the hairless cat and having to eat a cat to taking a bath with a wet nap. This is a shitty world. Like, you learn that in the first 10 minutes. And then when he goes to the, for lack of a better, whatever that guy was, a junker, the pawn shop guy, whatever he was. He trades it out. He trades out like 3 or 4 wet naps.
And a Zippo.
Yeah, and a Zippo for, for currency, basically.
Yeah, it was basically, because he needed to charge his iPod.
Yeah.
That's
hilarious.
I do like the subtle advertising in this movie, though, because you got the Beats by Dre. Like, it's pretty clear it's Beats, iPod. There was one shot where he's standing on top of the bridge, I think, and it looks down and there's a Busch beer truck, like plain as day. Like, this is the only thing in this god awful desert ridden world that didn't fade is this Busch beer truck.
But I think do you think was it advertised? Was it dollars for advertising?
Yes.
I assume they got some dollars from advertising, maybe, but
yeah, I'm sure
because the Busch, like you said, the Busch truck, everything's sepia tone because of it being post-apocalyptic atmosphere, I guess, being the way it is. But that Busch truck and the red of the KFC napkins was pretty visible.
Yeah, you're right.
That's
KFC,
true. Yep.
And what was the other product placement? Oh, his iPod. But I mean, but there was a car.
I remember distinctly his earbuds. Like, you could see the Beats, the Dre Beats logo inside of it.
Smoke, you're right. Yeah, one of the, I guess what do you call them? Marauders? I don't know. One of Carnegie's men was driving a GMC, GMC truck or something. But back to the, I guess the first fight scene with the road robbers.
Mm-hmm.
Eli cuts off the hijacker's hand.
Yeah.
And then takes out the rest. And this to me was awesome. Just the silhouette fight scene.
Oh, I love that too. When when he kind of backs up into the shadows.
Oh yeah.
He's got the sword out and he just kind of backs up.
Yeah.
And then they all come at him and he just lays them. He just lays waste. Two really cool scenes like that. With the road robbers, that gang on the road, and then the gang at the bar. When the one guy's giving him shit and he kind of makes him eat the bar counter, the bar top, and then all the dudes gang up on him. Yeah, I mean, he's just mowing them down left and right.
Yeah, I don't think, but Eli's not that big a fan of cats apparently. Because remember that cat?
Like cats.
He jumped up on the bar and he's like, he kind of hissed or whatever. I don't know. I can't remember if he hissed before or after he tried to push him away. He's like he pushed him off the bar.
I didn't think about that until you just pointed that out. But the cat kind of looks at him and hisses, right? It's probably because the cat knows he just ate a fucking cat, right? Like, think about it. And then he say something like he had cat grease or cat oil or something to put on his lips.
I assume that's why he killed the cat. Well, he killed the cat for food too, probably, but also
I'm sure
as an added bonus, cat oil.
Yeah, he mentioned that to Tom Waits' character, the shop owner.
Mm-hmm.
or the engineer or whatever he was. He's like, yeah, I got cat oil. He's like, cat oil? No. He's like, no.
I bet you anything. That's why the cat hissed at him though. Cause like, this dude kills cats. You know.
Yeah.
Oh, but talk about the fight scenes too. That and then there's of course the one big one in the house with the
old cannibals,
the gun tearing the house up and the bazookas and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But I think the reason why the action scenes were kind of the way they were, and I can't remember the dude's name right now, but the guy that wrote the movie, well, maybe co-wrote it, but I don't know if the Hughes Brothers wrote it as well. But one of the guys on the script was had currently previously worked at writing video games and stuff. Some scripts and things for video game titles.
Gary Whitta was the only one that got a writing credit on this. It was written by him.
Okay. Must have been him. Then it had previously worked with video game stuff, so might be another reason why some of the action scenes were the way they were. Well, because they kind of do play out that way.
By the way, we don't always mention. We should probably get better about mentioning cinematographers, but in this case, I think they need to be mentioned. The director of photography was Don Burgess, because I think this was really well shot, and the editing was by Cindy Malo. I mean, both of those just great work on this. As far as the look of it, for sure, and the way it came out in the end.
Yeah, that's two different. I mean, that's two good positions on a film that can make a film. If I'm not saying this one has a lousy script or anything, but I'm just saying if you have a movie with a lousy script, if you got a good cinematographer and a good editor, you can put something together.
Exactly.
I mean, just look at some of the Italian films that are, apocalyptic Italian films and stuff like that. If nothing else, script-wise, it might not be there, but when they get a good, and Italians were always good at technical aspects of filmmaking.
Except
they usually have,
except for editing. Now, granted, for the time, right? Cinematography is always on point. Editing, not so much, but that might be more of a byproduct of the shitty script too. So 50-50. Yeah. So I mean, really, was there anything else you guys wanted to? Well, I guess we could talk about the old cannibal shoot off, right?
That was awesome. They had a whole arsenal in their pull-out couch.
He's like, "You got a gun? Do we got a gun?" And he's got he pulls up the couch cushions and he's got a whole weapons cache under there.
That was great.
But they do get mowed down pretty quickly though. Like the old woman, she pretty much goes down right away. And then at least the old man, he went down fighting a little bit, but
yeah. So basically RPG took her out.
They basically had they were going to eat him, right?
Because that's what they did previous to because right before I guess I think it was right before. I'm sorry, it was after they brought him out tea, and because the old lady was shaking, and
he quickly they're cannibals.
Yeah, they're cannibals.
She's got the shakes from,
and they show him the previous people. Well, like the old man, he says, "Come here, I want to show you something." She's like, "No, not now," and then
not yet.
Yeah, she takes him. They take him out there, and it's freaking graves. Yeah.
That is one aspect you always kind of forget in these end of the world movies, stories, that there definitely would be people eating people. Right? That is legit. That would happen.
Animals.
Yeah. There would be fucking people like that you would have to watch out for at all times, that are just ready to kill you and eat you. There was one more really good scene when Solara finally gets captured. That's when they shoot Eli and they take the book. He's left for dead, and they take Solara. How she gets out of that was a pretty good scene.
Yeah,
all of a sudden she just turns into a badass, flips the switch, and then bam.
Yeah.
She strangles the dude that's driving, makes that flip. Meanwhile, Eli's sword stabs Red Ridge.
Yeah.
Right in the flip. So he's out.
Yeah, because he's
pretty much out.
Throwing it he threw it on the dashboard right in the scene before that, right before she strangles the guy. He just threw it up on the dashboard. So I guess when the truck took a tumble, it came off the dashboard and
that went right through him. Then she rolls out, grabs a grenade, and throws it up underneath the one of the three cars. So takes that one out. And then basically they're like, "Fuck her, we don't need her, fuck her," and then they just take off. No, not knowing that was the biggest mistake that they made the entire movie.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because she goes back, saves Eli, and then they just continue to go west. and by west all the way, but almost as far as you can pretty much walk, right? Because they go all the way, they end up at Alcatraz. So basically, they walk all the way to San Francisco, then have to take a boat. I thought that was kind of shitty, though, that Solara made Eli paddle the boat.
Like, he's already, like, kind of halfway shot and dying.
Yeah, he's dying.
He's like, all right.
Dying. Meanwhile, she's just, like, cool with him rowing the boat over to fucking Alcatraz.
It's not like she's not capable. We saw her strangle a dude and get out of an overturned, flipped over truck, throw a grenade under another truck. So she's very physically capable of things.
Yeah, no doubt.
Just sit here while you.
And then finally, he's about to. It looks like he's about to die right there in the boat. So, oh, I'll take the oars, And then she paddles him the rest of the way. Thanks. That was cool when they tried to drop when they tried to walk across the what do they call it? The Golden Gate Bridge?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Or they were driving. They had drove to that point. I forgot about that. The car that they had taken there from the showdown. They drove it to that far. They literally got on the Golden Gate Bridge, and then of course the bridge had caved in the middle of it, so they had to walk from there. But
who drove? Did she drive?
Yeah, she drove.
Yeah, she drove.
I mean, he's blind.
Yeah, well, true.
Who drove?
That way.
That's why I was
out there with his.
I don't remember showing them as being blind in those scenes. That's why I still don't think he was blind.
Who drove?
That definitely would have threw more into doubt if whether he was. When did he become blind? If this motherfucker is driving a car.
Oh man.
Well, it's possible. Haven't you seen See No Evil, Hear No Evil with Richard Pryor and?
Yeah, shit. It's not the dumbest thing. He did paddle a boat, right? He's blind.
I mean.
Well, she probably pointed him. You're going the wrong way. Paddle that way. Oh,
can you imagine the aggravation of just like, no, you're going left, no, right, no, left, no, all right, no.
And that's why she's like, just give me the oars. I'm going to paddle.
Yeah, fuck, give me the oars. You half dead asshole. That is another aspect too. When they finally get to Alcatraz and like, basically he recites the Bible, right? Like he has read this book pretty much every day for 30 years, give or take, right? So basically he has memorized the Bible, and that's the miracle, I guess, quote unquote miracle part of it, is that like he's able to, before he dies, recite the entire Bible word for word. The only thing that got me here, like, okay, that's a little unbelievable, but all right, taking into account divine intervention and all that, right? All right, I'll let it go. Wouldn't they have tried to help him live once he arrived at this? Because this seems like a place where, like, well, they've kind of got their shit together. There's probably a doctor.
It's sort of like the.
There's probably a doctor there or something, right, to help him out, or is he too far gone? It's
like the Noah's Ark of resources,
basically.
I mean,
it's an
but then again,
library.
Say what?
It's an end of the world library is that's what they've turned Alcatraz into. And and if you think about it, it's a smart place for something like that because it's a fortified. There's not going to be many places left that would be that fortified, right? You would think that you could protect such a thing deep in a vault or something inside of Alcatraz. So I just I found that part a little like, okay, like wouldn't somebody try to help him? No, they just shaved him.
They shaved him and like, all right,
put a white robe on him.
He was going to die anyway, right?
I guess
thinking that was his purpose.
Yeah, well, it was. But they should have at least put a little scene in there where, like, they're trying to bandage him up. They're trying to help him, right?
Yeah.
All they showed is them shaving him, and he's laying there on a couch in a white robe, looking like a monk or something, as he's reciting the Bible. Meanwhile, wouldn't there have been another way to do that? Even in this shit hell world, wouldn't there have been an easier way than just one dude writing? How long would that have taken?
Ask ChatGPT. See what it's.
Let's see what it's. I mean,
how long would it take one person to write to?
How long?
What do you call that? You relay something to somebody else to write.
To recite notation. Yeah. How long would it take to write the Bible? That's the question.
Yeah, let me ask ChatGPT.
Because I mean, he's dying. Once again, part of the miracle, divine intervention, right? But he's dying, and he's still.
And the Bible's not a short book by any means.
No. I ain't gonna say it's the longest book in the world, but it's got to be up there, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you, and most Bibles are printed with pretty small print and everything, and they get it down to about, I don't know, about
All right.
400.
Quick summary.
Okay.
Yeah, quick summary. ChatGPT says the writing of the Bible spans centuries, making it challenging to provide a precise time frame for its completion. So,
getting the question you're trying to ask it, I guess, huh?
Yeah. That's tough. I mean, that's tough to quantify. I get it, but
yeah,
that doesn't seem like it would be something that could be done in a couple of days. Right? Like if he's just spouting it off and there's basically one dude writing everything he says, that would take weeks.
Yeah.
Weeks. Well, regardless.
It'll be a long time.
I think by and large, though, in the end, outside of all of our silly questions, I think it's a well done movie.
Oh yeah.
And let's see where we all lie with it with our star rating. So Donnie, you're the one that recommended it, so we'll let you go first. What's your star rating?
Oh man, I love the look and the feel of it. It really just, for me, yeah, it's 2 hours, but it's an action movie. It goes pretty quick. It doesn't really feel like it drags a whole lot, to me at least. Definitely rewatchable. My star rating, if I want to see it again, it's got to at least be 3 stars. It's definitely that for me. A lot of the, I guess, interpretation is, subjective. Yeah. But, I'm right at, and I may change this rating, but I really enjoy this movie. I've seen it a few times. I could watch it a few more times, but it'll probably be at least a couple of years before I rewatch this again. But I'm going to go 3.5.
Smoke, what do you say?
Yeah, like I said, this is the second time I've seen it, and the first time was back when it originally came out in theaters. And as I also said before, I liked it a little bit better this time around than I did back then. I think, as we've all talked about, the cinematography is great, the editing is great, the storyline is okay. It's serviceable. I mean, it's generally what you expect. I mean, but with the added thing of religion playing a key role in there, outside of that, everything else is as you would expect from a post-apocalyptic movie. You get your cannibals, you get violent action of some sort. You have your lone warrior type, which that's generally like Mad Max and whatever. You have those sort of staples from post-apocalyptic movies. And I think that anybody who likes post-apocalyptic movies is going to enjoy this to some degree, no matter what, I mean, just because of it being well done that way, the look of it, cinematography and all that stuff. So I'll go 2 3/4 stars on it for me. I think it's, like I said, I like the aspect of religion being thrown in there and the various 3 forms that it takes shape in, of like, possibly starting the war that killed off everybody, and then like you got Gary Oldman using it for his advantage, and then you got Eli, who's sort of the, like I said, maybe prophet, or the character who's the most righteous, I guess you'd say, of the characters in the movie. He's the good guy, obviously good guy of the movie. But how that plays a part in the whole movie, I thought was interesting. That's probably the most original aspect of it. Is that dichotomy of religion and how it plays out in the movie. And so yeah, 2 3/4.
I can't really add much to what you guys have said. I mean, I think I agree with both of you in different ways. I'm going to give it 3 stars. It's a solid flick. This is only the second time I've seen it, since it came out 13 years ago. So it's not one that I would watch often or anything, but I would watch this again one day. I love the look of it. It's well shot, well put together. If anything, the writing lacks a little bit, and there are certain, it doesn't drag too much, but there's probably 10 or 15 minutes you could probably cut out of this to tighten it up just a little bit. The action scenes are great. You don't get a lot of them, right? But like those 3 or 4 pretty good action sequences that you get are really, really top-notch stuff. So I think for that, it deserves 3 stars from me. So that's where we'll leave it for now. Right now, the consensus is at just over 3 stars overall from the 3 of us. So I guess we'll go with that. So, Donnie?
Connections from the crypt.
Let him finish.
Yeah. So, not exactly a horror movie, but well, it's not a horror movie at all. But here we are in Summer Disaster. But what we do here, if you're just joining us, we do or if this is your first stop. So what we do with the Crypt Connections, we connect the current movie episode by any cast or crew connections to past Spook Show episodes. And for the Book of Eli, we don't have any cast connections at all, which is kind of surprising. Yeah. But, big cast will probably connect, future movies back to this one. But on the crew side, we've got makeup effects legend Howard Berger. Dates back to when we did The Green Inferno, Annabelle, Josh's favorite, House of Wax.
No, fuck him.
Invasion USA, Dr. Giggles, and Evil Dead 2.
So lots of connections with him.
Oh, yeah. And also, Howard Berger is a longtime collaborator with Greg Nicotero, who also did this, the Book of Eli, along with all of the previous ones that Howard Berger did, except for House of Wax. So he was able to dodge that bullet.
Now, my beef with House of Wax wasn't that aspect of it. So I'll give him that. It wasn't his work that I had a beef with. It was everything else.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there we go.
I can't remember. Who's the B? The KNB. There's KNB effects, and that's...
KNB effects.
And I can't remember who the other... The Burger.
I don't
Burger,
know. Was it Howard Berger and... Berger and Nicotero. I don't know who the K is, but...
Crazy.
I can't remember either.
Crazy with a K. We'll go with that.
Crazy with a
K. Yeah. Will isn't here for a kill count, although the number on this could be anywhere from, say, a few dozen that you see on film all the way up to the world's population. However you want to look at it, right? It could be either way. But let's talk about the kill reel.
Highlight kill.
As Donnie mentioned, this isn't a horror movie, but I think there's enough violence here to squeeze out a highlight kill and a gore score from it. So I don't think there's necessarily one kill to say, holy shit, that's the one. But I think that I'm going to go with necessarily a kill scene is the first time that Eli goes off on that road gang. And he dips into the shadows with the sword and all that shit. Like, that is just an awesome scene. It's one of those. It's one of the scenes that you take away and remember years down the road from this movie.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say the highlight kill is a scene in this one. That particular road gang, Eli taking them out scene. So with that,
gore score.
Yeah, like I said, there's quite a bit of violence. Outright gore. There's a few scenes, and the best one I thought took place in that same scene you were talking about at the beginning. The first, I guess the main street gang member leader of that particular group, where he comes up and he's like messing with Eli, and he's like touching him while he's pushing him, whatever. And he goes like, Eli's like, I'm not gonna tell you again. Don't put your hands on me, or you're not gonna come, or you're not gonna have a hand, or something like, or whatever it was he said to him, exactly. And then the guy's like, yeah, okay, whatever. And he touches him again, and then he chops his hand off. That was an awesome scene.
I like that too, where he like starts talking backwards or weird or something like that.
Because he's in shock.
He's
he
like,
says,
kiss him or something like that. And then they're like,
he says kiss him.
They're just like, huh? Oh, he's in shock. He meant kill me.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's when he dips into the shadows, and then they come in and they takes them all out.
Yeah.
Great scene. As far as gore score, outright gore, though, you see blood from his machete. I guess you call it a machete of sorts. I mean, it's very stylized, cool looking machete or whatever, or a short sword or whatever. You see blood from that, as he's stabbing him and pulling out. You see the blood splatter in the shadows because of that scene, the way that scene was shot, which is cool. And there's some of the other fight scenes. You see the same sort of thing. The outright gore would be when he lopped the guy's hand off. I thought that was probably the goriest aspect of the movie. And I can't remember if he smashes the guy's face into the bar, and the guy's got a busted nose. And then the aftermath of the cannibal family who's fighting alongside Eli and Solara.
It seems
The
there
wife.
was one there where like one of the cars or something blows up, and there's a guy that kind of blows apart and flies toward the screen.
Yeah,
I want to say it was during
there's
same...
some scenes like that of some gore. Yeah. It's not outright super gory movie. It's not supposed to be. Oh, one thing that I thought they it would have been really out of place, but some sort of cannibalism in the movie because of what's going on, and a lot of times you will get a little bit of that in some of these post-apocalyptic movies. Of I'm not saying like straight up cannibal Holocaust gore or something like that, but usually, so a lot of times there'll be some kind of scenes of a cannibal aspect of it or whatever. But that for this particular movie, it wasn't about that. So that really would have taken you out of this film if they had shown something that the family had done before they got there or whatever. It just wouldn't have fit the movie context. But the gore that is on offer here, I'd say is probably on. I'd give it, and just the outright, the level of violence, I'd say 5 at least. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, because it's there. There's not a lot of it, but when you see it, it's like, it's there. It earns the R rating, for sure. Because I don't even think, there was no nudity or anything like that in it, right?
Nudity at all.
And I don't even remember a lot of
that. Really.
Yeah,
I mean, maybe.
I'm sure there was some there, but I don't remember it being over the top with the language. So it's mostly just from those few scenes of, violence there. So yeah, there we go. That's the Book of Eli. So the usual aggregates we've got, IMDb gives it 6.8 out of 10 stars. Metacritic, or the Metascore, is 53. That's out of 100. And over on Rotten Tomatoes, the tomato meter is not kind, 47%. And the audience score is 64%. So a little better there. So I think overall, you come to a conclusion that, like, we probably liked it a little bit more than critics. Probably were more in line with the audience score on this one. I think this is one, like Smoke, you may have mentioned it off the top, that like you probably look more favorably on it now than you would have 13 years ago. And I think I agree with that. Like, I think I enjoyed this viewing, sitting down and watching this today, than I did 13 years ago. So maybe it's one of those. Maybe it's one of those movies that needs if you've seen it before, go check it out again. Maybe it needs another viewing, with a little bit of time and seasoning.
And I don't know what that says for the more modern era of movies that we go into. I know for me personally, it's like the more we get into the current era crop of movies coming out, the more I appreciate movies that came out from the earlier part of the 2000s.
Yeah, to a degree, yes, I agree. I mean, there's still some stinkers there. But we haven't done a lot of them.
Oh,
I think we've done a good job of avoiding them. How about that? So, yeah. Anyways, yeah. So there you go. That's the Book of Eli. So next week, we're going to be doing episode 166. We're going to revisit Cult Corner, and that's going to be Dr. Strangelove, or what? How? This is like a damn book of a title. Dr. Strangelove, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb. This is from 1964. And we also get to revisit the work of Stanley Kubrick. So he rarely disappoints, right? So we're looking forward to that. IMDb synopsis: an insane American general orders a bombing attack on the Soviet Union, triggering a path to nuclear holocaust that a war room full of politicians and generals frantically tries to stop. So, yeah, I think we're gonna. This will be one that maybe not quite as polarizing as what we did last week. Don't Look Up, but there are some similar themes to that one, and we'll discuss that next week when we talk about Dr. Strangelove. So I'm looking forward to that. Lots of cool stuff coming up throughout the summer, all the way to August 21st when we wrap up the Spookshow Summer Disaster. But we got lots of cool stuff. If you want to hear the whole slate of stuff, go back in the archives and listen to episode 162. That was the Summer Disaster preview episode where we pretty much lay everything out for you. So that will catch you up on what the upcoming slate is going to be. And we also encourage you to go over to our YouTube channel through aaspookshow.com. Check out the latest Grindhouse Gutter Zombie. That's out there now. Also, Video Vortex. The latest one is coming out, and I'm blanking on what it is. Anybody remember?
Video Vortex? It was Cruel Jaws, right?
Cruel Jaws, yeah. How could I forget? Yeah, I just had a moment there. But yeah, Cruel Jaws. So lots of cool stuff. Patreon, aaspookshow.com. That's pretty much it. So for Will, couldn't be with us. Donnie, Professor Smoke. I'm Josh. We are the All-American Spook Show, and we'll talk to you next week for Dr. Strangelove.
So goodbye, everybody, and remember, please, for the next day or so, the terrible lesson you learned tonight.